as you come up to death, you go through a whole set of stages. First one is premonitions. In other words, you may get some inkling that it's going to happen. And I have a number of people who have told me their stories. And if you ask the Dalai Lama will tell you that we all know when we're going to die, and we get about a 2-year warning. And if you ask him how we know, he says, because there's a change in your breathing, a change in your thinking, and so on. Well, these are obviously subtle things that yogic masters know. I don't think most of us do, because I certainly won't be able to do that myself. I think to see a subtle change in breathing 2 years before I die. At any rate, yes, you can. And that raises the question, is time linear or is it not? So that's one of the questions which we'll just leave on the table for the moment. Then after the premonitions, we come to the actual dying process itself. So you've been given the news, you're going to die, and a reservation's been made in the hospice for you. So what do? You find out about it. You learn about the dying process. When I started this in about 2000, 2002, there wasn't very much known, but now there's loads known. And so what you can do is you look it up and see exactly what's going to happen. And there's something called deathbed anxiety. And deathbed anxiety occurs to all those who can't let go. So what's this letting go? Letting go means that everything that you have been attached to, you have to let go. Look, you're not going to take your friends in Australia with you, are you? No. So you have to let go of those relationships, and your friends in France for that matter too. Yeah. They all have to go. And there is a period when you have to do this cleaning. I think looking at it as cleaning is a very good way. And cleaning occurs in pre-transition. This is, can be 4 or 5 days before you actually die. And you have to give everything up. And if you don't give it up, you get anxious. Mm-hmm. If you get anxious, you get very anxious. And if you get anxious, what will your doctor do? He'll zap you with midazolam, and you will miss all the dying process because you will be sort of unconscious. So get your cleaning right. Now, this is helped with in approximately the last 2 weeks before you die, when you see deathbed visitors. And they're fantastic. They come and they say hi to you. And who are they? Family members. Your mother, friends who you have a very good relationship with. All of them may come along and sit at your bedside. Sometimes they sit on your bed. Why on your bed? Because it's very comforting. I mean, it's wonderful.
These are the loved ones that have already transitioned.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes. Your dead mum, your dead sister, that sort of thing. And they will also often give you a time. And as your mum gets up and goes, she says, well, I'll be back in 3 days, and we'll go on the journey together. And so you can actually say, Mum, don't come back then, because my son is coming from Australia. And it'll take him a little while to get here. And so she can say yes, but you can't negotiate a party in the hospice. Don't come back because there's a hospice party on Friday. I want to attend. No, she won't do that, but she will, in fact, put it off for something which you feel is very important to you. So you go now into a phase. This is in the last week before you die, and you go into a period of transition. It's slightly different from the transition I was talking about before. This is when you actually leave the hospice sometimes with a deathbed visitor, and go into an area of love and light. This is how people describe it. So, and in this area of love and light, you meet again a deathbed, dead relatives, and also the spiritual beings who are there to meet you and welcome you. And they sort of prepare you for what's going to happen. So love and light is the key feature of going into that transition. Then you come back again into the hospice, and you may make this journey 2 or 3 times before you actually die. And then we're coming up quite close to death. Do you remember we were talking about pre-transition when you got to clean and clean and clean and clean and clean and drop it all, because it's terribly important. And then you come in about the day before you actually die, or maybe 48 hours, something like that. You're in the transition stage. And this is the point at which your egoic structures within your brain start to collapse. And it's really interesting. It's not terribly pleasant, because none of us are used to our egoic structures collapsing, because that's our sense of I.
Right.
And in fact, what's happening is we become non-dual. Non-duality is a state of consciousness which we're beginning to understand more about. But you start to fuse with the universe. You and the universe become one. And so it's love and light and the fusing of you with the universe, and that's in post-transition. And from there, most people die.
Right.
It's a very nice state to be in. And from that, then, of course, you actually die. And what attitude should you have? You have an attitude of sinking in. Sinking in is very important. You actually sink into the death process. And then you will, in fact, make your transition.
If you liked this episode, please do subscribe for weekly passionate, inspirational interviews.